Hello YouTube, it's MrShiningTime. I wanted to make a video response to JiaIreland's video called "We Don't Have Jobs." Now, I woke up this morning and checked my YouTube and saw her video post. I decided to watch it, and it was very thought provoking. Sorry about the noise in the background. I live next to a pretty busy street, but anyway. The title of her video is "We Don't Have Jobs," and I just wanted to speak on this issue and elaborate a little bit about some of the consequences that we as minorities face in this country because of really the path that the world has taken economically. America enjoys the lifestyle it does today because of the back-breaking labor and effort that was put in by people decades ago. I'm talking about people in the 30s, 40s, 50s, people who lived late 19th century. Those are the people who created what America is today, its wealth, its power, and its ability to project that power around the world. It was the manufacturing. You know, at one point in time, believe it or not, America was the world's leading producer of oil. At one point in time, America manufactured so much that it exported overseas. During World War II, the economy was brought out of a recession, a depression really, by the necessity to build all these war machines, tanks, bombs, planes, bullets. You know, people went to work building these things, and it helped the economy. It helped the African American community specifically, which is what I talk about and what JiaIreland was mentioning. At first, there was discrimination in those jobs, and they didn't give those jobs to African Americans, but Congress passed a law sometime during the war that allowed African Americans to get jobs in the war industry. In other words, those contracts that were given to companies by the government to produce tanks and bombs and bullets, they had to hire a certain number of African Americans in those jobs. I was reading a book about that a few weeks ago. But anyway, those jobs, those manufacturing jobs, were the type of things that allowed the black community to thrive decades ago. You could have people who were unskilled, who didn't necessarily have to go get higher education, who could go into a factory and make a decent wage to support their families. Places like Detroit, decades ago, 50, 60, 70 years ago, were boom towns. You know, they were prosperous, they were thriving, they were the ideal of the American dream, an American way of life. They were the exemplar of that. But nowadays, look at Detroit. Detroit is a war zone. You know, it's full of crime. It's dirty, dilapidated, abandoned buildings everywhere. And why is that? Because there's manufacturing jobs have gone. All that American manufacturing has simply vanished. And that's this story all over the place. Where I live, they used to manufacture tools there. It was one of the largest tool manufacturers in the world 40, 50, 60 years ago. Nowadays, the buildings where they manufactured those tools have been empty for 20 plus years. Why is that? Because all the jobs have gone overseas. Why are jobs going overseas? Well, because globalization. Our workforces have been blended with the workforces of people around the world, people in much poorer countries. And so these people are willing to work for prices that are much lower than what the American worker is willing to work for. It makes sense to send the jobs to where the people are willing to work for less, to increase your profit margin. That's just capitalism at work. I can't really blame the companies, because if they want to survive, they have to find a way to compete with their fellow with their competitors. So if your competitors are sending manufacturing jobs to China or Indonesia or Mexico, and you want to stay here in America, well, your competitors now can afford to lower their prices on their products and simply drive you out of business. So if you want the same thing, if you want to survive, sorry about that, there's a truck going by. But if you want to survive as a business, then you need to send jobs overseas as well. And this type of thing, this rush to push jobs overseas, especially manufacturing jobs, hurts the African American community especially, because not everyone in the African American community can afford to go get a higher education and then try to move on to one of those blue or white collar jobs that you need a degree for. Of course, now that the government is subsidizing education, anyone can go to college now, and it's lessened the value of the bachelor's degree. But still, not everybody makes it through college. And with the jobs, the manufacturing jobs, the low-skilled jobs simply evaporating, now you're stuck. Because now you have to go to school, you have to go into debt in order to make money. And relating that back to marriage, I mean, people are still getting married, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. There's this YouTube channel on here called Truth Never Told. And this guy talks about the debt and death paradigm that we have here in America. And it's absolutely true. America nowadays is built on a system of debt and death. Go into debt and live like that for your entire life until you die. Once you graduate once you graduate high school, you're encouraged to go to college. You have to go to college. I mean, if you want a decent job nowadays, employers are pretty much, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you can pretty much forget it, right? So everybody's going to college now. Of course, the colleges are raising their tuition rates to the point where you have to get loans now to survive, to buy books, if you want to live on campus. And so the tuition is going up, skyrocketing. Where at my college, I'm glad I'm graduating this semester, because where I go to school, they're talking about raising the tuition by 5% next year. And I'm glad I'm getting out of there, because I don't want to go into debt trying to get an education. But so kids come out of college with $60, $50, $70, sometimes even more than $100,000 in debt. Can you imagine? And then they go out into the workforce, but they can't afford to pay off these loans. So what do? They become wage slaves. You have to work now. And you spend your whole life working off this education debt you have. But you want to start a family, of course, and you want to buy a house and a car. So now you go further into debt in order to do all those things. And that is the system we have here in America. And it's a system that's unsustainable. We've been living so far on the labor and the efforts that our grandparents put in. We've been living off of their hard, back-breaking labor that they put in 60, 70 years ago. That's what we've been living off of. But that's coming to an end. The system is going to break down. The only reason why it hasn't broken down so far is because the federal government is able to borrow massive amounts of money from the world in order to prop up the American lifestyle. That is the only reason why we are not rioting in the streets and, throwing Molotov cocktails and fighting and clashing with police. Just think about how much money the federal, what the hell was the federal deficit last year? The federal budget deficit, something like $1.4 trillion, which means the federal government had to borrow that much money in order to keep you fed, to keep all the people on food stamps fed, to keep Medicare and Medicaid going and Social Security. Imagine what would happen if those programs simply disappeared. Because the federal government cannot afford those programs. simply based on the taxes that it collects. So when people are no longer willing to buy treasury bonds, when America can no longer afford to borrow money, people are simply not going to lend the American government money anymore. All those programs that you're so used to that keep our communities propped up, Section 8, food stamps, welfare, Medicaid and Medicare, Social Security. Once those programs are gone, when the government can no longer afford those things, it's going to be hell. And that day is coming pretty soon. Because the federal deficit is growing. And the budget is growing. What is it called? National debt is growing as well. Exponential growth. And exponential growth systems ultimately collapse in nature. Exponential growth is not sustainable. It must come to an end. And that is what's going to happen eventually. Because the system is out of control. And without manufacturing jobs, without jobs to prop up the government with taxpayer money, you have a recipe for disaster. So yes, we don't have jobs. What African Americans need to do is to try to set up businesses in African American communities. Support the businesses that allow your communities to be sustainable. That is what we need to focus on and what we need to talk about. Of course, people aren't talking about this. We'd rather focus on stupid shit or rather focus on issues that really has no real impact on us, like gay marriage. Why are the preachers in the church focused on gay marriage? Because, that's where all the black people go to get their information, is the church, right? Why are the preachers in the church focused on gay marriage instead of focused on trying to teach these people how to set up their own businesses, how to become self-sustainable, how to build their communities up, so when your daddy, the federal government, stops paying you money, you don't turn your communities into Mogadishu. That is what the preachers in the church need to be telling their congregation. Because that day is coming. It is an inevitability. Many people have talked about the eventual collapse of the federal government because of the spending. But we're going to, I guess, ride the wave until it crashes. And then we're all going to be fucked, basically. So I know I went off on kind of a tangent on this video. But the reality is that it's not going to get better. Not in the near future. It's only going to get worse. I mean, black unemployment is like over damn near 20% now. Something like that. It's close to it. That's insane. The national unemployment is like 19 or 9%. 9% of the workforce doesn't have a job. Millions of people are simply running around here with no work, and it's only going to get worse as more and more jobs go overseas, as more and more jobs are simply destroyed by automation or cheaper workers overseas. More people are going to be out of jobs, and the community is going to suffer more and more. To borrow an expression from, I can't remember if it's Willie Pete or Pink Elephant, but black people are the canaries in the coal mine. We get hit with shit first because we don't own anything. We're dependent on everyone else to give us jobs, to bring food into our communities, to support our lifestyle. And that is that mentality, that system we have built that we rely on, it's going to end and it's going to be destroyed, and we have eventually to stand on our own 2 feet as far as support. So that's all I want to say. It's about 15-minute limit. Thanks for listening.